Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me. I am excited today to bring you a card using the new Build a Castle die set along with the Best Fishes stamp set. I think that the Build a Castle die set is really very versatile. I've created quite a few cards using it, and I do have some samples to share with you at the very end of this video as well. Anyway, getting back to this card here. So I started out with a piece of watercolor cardstock that is cut to 8 1/4 by 3 1/4. And then I used dull blue and light blue Zig Clean Color brush markers and just scribbled over the front of my piece of watercolor cardstock. Next, I took some clean water and a big old paintbrush and just went over the scribble marks just to blend them out and get those colors to blend together. And since I have zero patience in waiting for something to dry, I did start to dry this with my heat tool, just a little bit to see how much the colors would dry back, and then decided to add in a little bit more of the dull blue and a little bit more of the light blue, and then went over that with a wet paintbrush as well, just to get those colors to blend. I set that panel off to the side to dry completely, and then I ran a couple of the dies from the new Build a Castle die set through my Gemini Junior from a light tan cardstock, and then used some washi tape to hold the pieces in place on the brick pattern stencil. I did a little bit of ink blending with brushed corduroy distress oxide ink. And one tip, when you are lining up your castle, you want to make sure that all the pieces are facing the same way so that all of the bricks are going horizontally. I had almost taped one the wrong way and the brick pattern would have been going the wrong way. So something to pay attention to. After I had the brick pattern stenciled on all of those little pieces, I decided to add a little bit more ink around the edges. So I again came in with the brushed corduroy distress oxide ink and darkened up some of those edges. Next, I die cut a frame using the Slimline Scallops Birthday die set from black cardstock and added a little bit of liquid glue to the back of that, and then I adhered a piece of acetate to the back so that it would appear to be the glass on the front of a fish tank. Next, I used my foam adhesive strips and put that all the way around the edges and set that off to the side so I could finish working on my inner bits and pieces. I used the Slimline Edger die set to create a sandy bank for the bottom of my fish tank, and used liquid glue to adhere that to the watercolored panel, which is completely dry at this point. Once I had my sandy bank adhered in place, I just used my scissors to cut off the excess that was hanging off the edge a little bit. Next, I used a little bit of liquid glue to adhere the two castle pieces together, and then of course I'm going to add a whole bunch of foam tape on the back side of my castle. Now, one of the things that I did definitely want to point out here is that the foam tape that I'm using on the back of the castle is Scotch foam tape, and it is thinner than the foam strips that I used around the black frame. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure that the black frame stuck out further so that it would appear that the aquarium glass was further away from the actual fish tank itself. And then I did want to have the castle raised up with the foam tape just so I could tuck my little puffer fish behind the castle and also add more dimension on the inside of the fish tank itself. Next, I arranged the rest of my colored bits and pieces on the front of the card and used liquid glue to adhere them flat. Once I had all of my main images adhered down, I brought in some fish tank embellishments, and they're the cutest little clay embellishments of fish in various colors, and I thought they would be really cute to add in because I could fit them into the smaller windows on the castle as well as the doorway, and then just to add a little bit more texture to the fish tank itself. Once I had all my clay bits adhered in place, I removed the release paper from my foam strips on my frame and adhered that on top of my actual fish tank panel. Then I used liquid glue to adhere that to the front of my note card, which started out at 8 1/2 by 7 inches. I scored it at 3 1/2 inches on the 7-inch side, so my finished card is 8 1/2 by 3 1/2. Here's one more look at the fish tank card. And here are the other samples that I created using the Build a Castle die set as well. And I'll make sure to have everything that I used linked in the description box below, including the Copic colors that I used to color in the fish. And that's it. That wraps up my card for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, we'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.